Today, I thought we'd talk about something that I'm not particularly comfortable with, but needs to be dealt with. So I'm probably going to deal with it one time here and one on Patreon, and that's it because it needs to be dealt with. That is negative inorganic beings and protection. So we'll go over that because it's a very real issue. Something needs to be dealt with, and I think something that's not mainstream. So we'll talk about some things I've dealt with that just have helped me, and that's all I can really talk about. No gurus here. Peace. Salutations. Wanted to talk about quickly and go over negative inorganic beings and protection. All right. For me, two things happened when I was young. One was I got attacked by a disincarnate person. It was aware I could perceive it, and it put a bear hug type of thing on me. Another one was I started seeing shadows attacking people. One day I started seeing them moving around, but I started seeing them attack. I saw one attack a co-worker. And actually, I've seen two kinds. There was ones that were more spherical, or ones that were more oval, bigger. The oval one I saw attached to her crown chakra and elongate down to her, about her sex chakra. And it started pulsating a weird gray color. So I knew, and then she was bowling, and she was like hitting the heck out of those pins. And later on, I said, "You all right?" And she says, "Well, I'm just been having some terrible thinking, bad thoughts." So this thing was feeding on her. I knew that then, so I want to change my vibration to get that away from me. So let's talk about what actually these negative inorganic beings are and how they start with us. They start as negative thought forms. Okay, they start as negative thought forms, begin building more energy in our brain thoughts, in our energy, in our thoughts, and then they begin to get enough energy that they can actually use our own pineal gland as a wormhole. All right. Once they've got up enough energy to do that, they begin to be able to manifest things into the third dimension here with us, which normally comes in the way of they can jump into influencing people that we love, people we deal with, will suddenly start going off on you for some odd reason. You have a problem with them, or they'll cause financial stress, normally by jumping in electrical appliances like your car or getting into the plumbing. That's another problem to present for you. All right. So that's just one way here to kind of observe how they can influence your life, eventually leading to health problems. And this does not to mention what they can do in the dreamscape. In the dreamscape, we are much more on the level we are inorganic ourselves, so they can come into our field of awareness much better as odd objects. And as what I tend to see is showing up as like a police officer or for example, somebody you love. Those are the worst ones. They show up as somebody you love in your dream and they start attacking you. I know we've all experienced that. Why in the world would somebody I love? It almost becomes a nightmare. It's normally these beings jumping into our field of awareness, all right? These negative inorganic beings getting more of this energy going so that they can feed on it. Be aware of what's used to be called inductive linkage, which was made by the Ascended Masters, which is where you actually vibrate the pineal gland and that communication happens during like that link. They use that quite a bit. So that's just one way to be observant of these negative inorganic beings. They also tend to haunt objects sometimes. And so you pick up an object that has a bad energy on it, you get a psychometry out of it. If you're sensitive at all, you'll pick that up. That can be rather disturbing. You get attachments like that. So that's things people talk about, these different types of negative inorganic beings, these demons. We could go on for that for a long time, but let's go more to some protection. Look, I'm no guru. Most of the people you see giving you advice in this media, they're not gurus either. We're all just people, all right? But there are some things I've been able to use technique-wise that have helped me to avoid a lot of these circumstances, a lot of these beings, and stay on a different vibration, okay? One is loving humor. For some reason, these beings don't seem to understand loving humor. That's a good way to get them away from you. Number two is a lot of these techniques you're hearing are learning you how to gather your pure intent of creative visualization, how to really gather your intent. When you want somebody away from you, you know how to emit that energy and how to sweep them away. It's that same technique, and that involves several things that can be used. Like sometimes I used to prefer the light dome or a defense shield, like the way the Enterprise is shielded on Star Trek, the defense shields. That's a good one. I like that. Sometimes it can be a dome or it can be a spear, an egg, different things like that. You can also use start using creative visualization to use a spiral. One of the creator's major forms, geometric forms, is a spiral. You can use a spiral from the ground coming up through you, okay, going down. You can use what you have for white light bubbles or golden light bubbles help also in the cleansing process. All right, so that's just a few things you can do there. Sometimes it's the small things to stop these attacks, I think. Like when I would do something like that and flush all this negative energy out of my body and try to get rid of the attachments, I would like to do sun gazing after that, okay, and kind of energize with the sun. Very powerful techniques there. When you do solar cleansing, that's what this is called actually, pranayama, which is some breathing techniques that go along with that. Very powerful techniques to help keep your energy field clean. We want to focus on keeping our thoughts somewhat clean and keeping the negative thoughts out, but also keeping our biofield clean. I want to keep my biofield somewhat clean, all right, and keep these things off of me in that way. I think a lot of people like resins, so doing things like smudgings and things like this. But when I mentioned about the power of our thoughts and visually getting these beings away from you with all of your intent of will and how to summon that up from your core, all right, that kind of takes us into what my friends had told me, the Pleiadian, the throne beings, Burning Debt, and the throne Burning Debt that stepped forward, how she had said to me, the warp fields of your thoughts affect reality, much more powerful than you realize. So I know now what she was kind of meaning, all right, and what that was about. The throne beings, check out that video. I might do another one on Patreon about these. Look at so many responses about these beings themselves, all right? So anyway, please thank you for listening to this. I don't want to focus on this too much because even talking about this and vibrating on it brings this type of crap to you, brings that crap to you. I want no part of it so much with that, so I don't want to go into that a lot. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm still on YouTube a little bit here, but I want to do things like if I do this, pull this on Patreon, I want to make it a much longer video and maybe even a live feed where I can talk to people. So I've tried to knock that down to where it's very cheap per creation that I put on there. You're not under contract, I'm not. It gives us a chance to interact. So thank you very much. Please subscribe to the channel. Check me out on Patreon. Peace.